Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the European Multikey Tournament Quarterfinals. We're back with the final match of the Quarterfinals weekend. It is going to be an all-Portuguese matchup here. It's going to be Sunek 4 going up against Rodrig0v to see who will be continuing their run in the winner's bracket. As always, my name is Sparky, and I am going to be doing a bit of a solo job here in the commentary booth this time around to close out this weekend. Hopefully we have quite a bit of an electrifying show for you guys here today as we wait for everything to get started here. As I mentioned, this is a winner's bracket matchup, and with the way things have been going so far this weekend, I mean, a lot of really close showdowns, a couple of tiebreakers making their appearance, and a couple of really close 5-3s, so hopefully these two are going to be duking it out here to round out what has been a very, very nice quarterfinals round. It does bear mentioning, while we wait for everything to get started, that the semifinals map pool showcase will be happening at the usual time that we have been used to, 19 UTC, so definitely look forward to that after this match is over. But without further ado, it looks like we're going to get into the warm-ups, the roles coming through here to determine the order. And then after this, once we're done with the warm-ups, we'll get into the usual bands. And then that all-important first pick to see how we're going to get this show on the road. It'll be interesting to see how these two in particular decide to attack this map pool. Given the fact that it is a winner's bracket matchup, they didn't have to do any conditional shenanigans like the folks in the loser's bracket have to. So, going to be going into this rather blind, just going based off prior performances in earlier rounds. So, as for personal experience, I've actually never seen either of these two in a tournament. I actually never had the privilege of being in a tournament with these folks, so it's gonna be a bit of a show for me as well, if I do say so myself. As we see the first warm-up loaded up, looks like it's gonna be Rodrig0v based on the mapper title, and it's gonna be a 7-key warm-up, so might give us a bit of insight as to how they want to play this one out. See how difficult it is. We see the 6.34 star rating, but I mean, to be fair, with 7-key, it can that not really a barometer to go by, all things considered. So, gonna get this first warm up out of the way here. It looks to be very hybrid-y in nature, where you have this very dedicated one-hand sectioning for LNs, where you start doing things in between the longer holds. Very interesting chart dynamic overall, and both of them handling it pretty well. I imagine for Sunek, this basically is a sight read for them. Rodrig0v just mapping it out, maybe just playing to their overall comforts. They want to push the envelope a little bit as well in terms of their own personal skill. That, or maybe they just found the song fun. It's all speculation when it comes to the warm-ups in general, but looks to be in and around the range the players will be going through when we actually get into the match proper. Like, this feels like it has its moments where it spikes above the map pool, and then it goes back to where the map pool range is. Maybe feels a little bit easier, but you gotta have that little bit of an ebb and flow as the map goes through here. So as things stand, I mean, if this is a sight read, this is a very marvelous job by Sunek on the opposite side to maintain this accuracy lead and the score lead just based on the warm-up alone. And I mean, to be fair, can't really glean too much off of warm-up performances. You don't know how, dare I say, seriously the players are taking the warm-ups, but the fact that there isn't really anything goofy going on like we have seen in prior weekends, prior matchups, where people decide to kind of have a little bit of fun with it. This feels about as serious of a warm-up as you can get, all things considered. So as we continue on here, just approaching the last quarter, and it really just has been this consistent theme of these long LN anchors while holding on to what is essentially light chord stream on the other columns. Really just a coordination test to ensure that you're not letting go too early on those longer LNs while trying to juggle everything else. A couple of transitional moments here and there, but outside of that, I mean, it doesn't really pull any punches. It doesn't get any easier. The density doesn't really fly off the handles at any points, but that will do it for the first warm-up. We'll see if Sunek has one in the back pocket, or if we can get straight into the second warm-up here, or into the actual match. So this one looks to be Sunek's warm-up. Markedly shorter, about 30 seconds less in terms of drain time overall. And we'll get on into the second one afterwards. The players will roll to determine who gets first pick, first ban in the match. We'll proceed through the bans. Reminder, both players get 2 bans, but you cannot ban a single key mode out. And then we'll get into that all-important first pick to see how this match will proceed. 2 7-key warm-ups to start this match off. Could give us a bit of insight as to where we're gonna probably linger for the preferential picks, maybe just the comfort picks. Could decide to keep those in the back pocket for later break in case of emergency glass type of situation, or if we just pick both of them right off the rip. Even ban them potentially, just remove options from your opponent. So much strategizing could potentially go into a matchup like this. And this being a very dense core stream pick, or style of map rather. You can see the accuracies kind of matching up to the general comfort of the players, at least in the warm-up. I imagine Rodrigo is going to be the one sight reading this one this time around. Doing a pretty good job in their own right, but Sunek near that 99.7 range, just really just showing a familiarity with the chart and not really being perturbed by all of these real dense chord impacts. So last quarter of the map coming through here. About a 30,000 point lead for Sunek on what is essentially their warm-up. Could potentially take some confidence out of this as well, knowing that these more physical style of picks they might have a bit of an advantage on. So very well played by both players. And with that out of the way, we'll get the roles for pick and ban out of the way here. Pretty close one overall. Rodrigo wins the roll 88 to 57. So they'll have the option if they want to pick first or ban first in this matchup. And that'll help determine the rest of the order moving through. And they're going to opt to pick first in this match. So Sunek going to be banning first in this instance. We'll wait to see what they decide to throw out here to get this show on the road. And it's going to be a 10-key LN chart going to be removed by Sunek. Very coordination-heavy style of pick. Maybe just one column too many to handle comfortably. So that will be removed. Rodrigo going to be next up to ban here. And it's going to be the 4-key Rice pick. So not wanting to get into those lower key modes, at least on the left-hand side of the pool, so gonna remove that. And Sunek wasting 0 time, 9-key LN as well gonna be removed, so maybe tipping their hand a little bit in terms of where they're gonna want to stick to. Maybe wanting to go for these Rice picks overall. Just speculation, we'll have to wait and see how the picks come through. And Rodrigo gonna respond in kind with the 5-key Rice, so bit of preference being shown here. Rodrigo maybe wanting to keep the LN picks around Sunek, maybe want to keep the Rice picks around. And on opposite ends of the map pool as well, we might see some potential fireworks once we start getting closer towards that middle section. Both 7-key picks, both 6-key and 8-key picks up here as we wait for Rodrigo's first pick, and it's going to be 10-key Rice to start this match off. The Evolution of War going to be the first map in this final matchup of the quarterfinals weekend. We'll see how the players do. Nice comfortable 2 minutes. For the players to read through. Looks like the players are ready. The good lucks are coming out here. MP Start Command comes out as well. Gotta get into this first map of this best of 9. Both these players wanting to continue their run in the winner's bracket, make it to that semifinals. On the upper half of the bracket, Sunek finding a early drop here. Gonna cost him a bit of accuracy, but early goings gonna mean plenty of room for recovery here, as both players actually trading misses as the overall core density begins to ramp up just ever so slightly. But Sunek picking up a couple of more stray drops here and there, just if not pure misses, just spiking these 50s and 100s ever so slightly more out of time than Rodrigo, about 2% behind in the grand scheme of things as the density continues to ramp up here. Third map already done as a trade misses yet again, but right now if you're Rodrigo, you take those drops, or you take those trades any day of the week, especially with a 50,000 point lead as we get into this little mini jack section. Just syncopated a little bit before diving back on into these broken up light chord stream structures. A couple of bursts just for good measure. Nice little transition, but once the density really begins to ramp up, you see the comfort levels between the two different players really on display here. These little runs in between the 1-4 streams, catching out both players ever so often, but Rodrigo taking them in a bit more stride than Sunek, now down into that A rank range. A very strong first pick for Rodrigo to start this match off, and gonna set the tone a little bit here as they pick up their first point to make it 0-1, leaving Sunek to find that first pick for themselves to see if they can restore parity or if an early breakpoint opportunity might present itself. Not wasting any time. 6-key Rice going to be the pick for Sunek. So not opting to respond with an LN map. Opting to keep it on the left-hand side of the map pool, but on the lower key mode. They did look very, very strong on that 7-key Rice warm-up that they threw out here, so we'll have to see how it translates when you remove a column here. I imagine both players very practiced. So this could be very explosive. Tack on an extra minute, gives you a little bit more leeway if you do find a mistake early on. But we'll just have to wait and see. Looks like the players are ready. We're going to get into the second map of this best of 9. Sunek looking to respond with their first map pick in this match. Going as low as they can physically go on the remaining Rice picks in response to the other maximum. Going from 10 down to 6. And already very strong starts by both the players so far. Rodrigo starting to lag a little bit behind, picking up a couple extra 200s. Just hitting a little bit early on some of these denser core stream structures. Able to keep it together on the overall burst. The double staircase runs catch out Sunek, and that's going to put a bit of a dent in their overall lead. 4,000 points, but the accuracy keeping them ahead. Rodrigo finally trades back that miss. Both FCs now gone for both players. Now just resting on that accuracy advantage. With Sunek about to cross that 400 combo cap, going to stretch his advantage. Another miss from Rodrig0v going to help bolster the lead for Sunek now. Starting to pull away now. 18,000 points out of the first quarter of the map. Intensity continuing to rise. The little mini jacks on the outer columns, not causing too much distress, but just the 200s raining down from Rodrig0v, and another miss as well, going to put a bit of a damper on this charge that they could potentially mount. Now both players starting to pick up a couple of misses. But again, similar to the 10-key Rice pick, if you're Sunek in this situation, you take those trades as they come, still able to keep a 30,000 point lead going into the middle portion of the map. Full 1.5% of a cushion in terms of overall accuracy, going to help cushion any potential future misses should they come here. But the start of this ending sequence, a nice opportunity for both players to get back up over that 400 combo cap. See if they can hang on to it as the core stream begins to rain down once again. Rodrig0v going to be the first one to find the drop, not traded back this time around by Sunek, and they begin to grow this advantage once again. 40,000 points to the good with a quarter of the map left to go here. Not over by any stretch of the imagination, but with how Sunek has been performing so far, the misses have come ever so slightly, but they've been able to keep them so clean whenever they do arrive. Another trade by both players. But Rodrig0v not able to put themselves in a position to take advantage when Sunek does find those inevitable drops. And giving away another 15,000 points, 55,000 points now, the advantage for Sunek. As we get through the worst of the chart and into a very calm outro on the way to a 1-1 scoreline. Sunek manages to notch it up. Very well played by both players in the grand scheme of things. Now we are down to a best of 7. With Rodrig0v up to pick once again, it'll be interesting to see where to decide to go here. Looked very strong on 10 key. Don't have an LN option to go into in that key mode. Next best option would be the 9 key Rice. And sure enough, gonna go for 9 key Rice here. Just gonna stay in the upper key modes here. We'll have to see if Sunek can mount a challenge to Rodrig0v on this pick. I imagine as they begin to converge towards that 7 key side of the map pool, those skill sets really begin to overlap. And who takes the advantage there remains to be seen, but I imagine that is a collision course these players are firmly set on. Considering the fact that neither have opted to go for any of the LN picks so far. So we'll have to see how that plays out as this match develops. But for right now, one of the longer picks in this pool. Very abrasively structured, but very fun to play. As we wait for the players to load in, third map of this best of 9. Opening picks going the way of the player that picked it. Rodrig0v looking to try and continue that trend. Sunek looking to try and pick up a first breakpoint in this match. As we get into these quad flam structures, mercifully on single hands, and don't really see either player trying to just hard press their entire hand onto one side of the columns to read them. It looks like they're both really practiced on this. But Sunek picking up the first drop. Rodrigo trades it back. Picks up a little bit more damage in terms of the overall accuracy. And it's going to give Sunek about a 2,000 point lead going out of this first quarter. Sunek finds yet another drop. The full staircase runs coming through. Another couple of misses coming through on the red side. Going to give Rodrigo back the lead. 8,000 points in the exchange out of the first quarter of the map. These technical structures really beginning to rain down, taking Sunek for a bit of a ride. Rodrigo able to get up over that 400 combo cap ever so slightly before finding their drops, but once again, able to establish a cushion, similar to how they did on 10 Key Rice. And now the lead is about 17,000 points, a third of the map already done. Not safe by any stretch of the imagination, but about 0.5% ahead in terms of overall accuracy and a number of misses in the back pocket to work with. You imagine the cushion has been built up to be able to tank through a couple of the harder sequences that are going to come through here. And even on the quieter section, Sunek not immune to finding the drops here and there. These little polyrhythmic breaks. The long jacks not catching out either of the players. Very calm sequence in the grand scheme of things, beginning to build right back on up into the last third of the map. All this free time above the 400 combo cap, giving Rodrigo about 10,000 extra points in the back pocket. Claude runs not catching anybody up, but Sunek on the jacks, transitioning into this next sequence. Both players being taken for a bit of a ride, but Rodrigo weathering the storm ever so slightly better as both of them just trading misses back and forth. But similar to maps prior, the player in the lead, the one that has the cushion, just takes these trades any day of the week. The accuracy starting to even out a little bit here, but it's just that extra free time that Rodrigo was able to take above that 400 combo cap that's really bolstered this advantage that they have here. 40,000 points to the good as we approach this last eighth of the map here. Still about a percent of a cushion as well. Makes things a little bit easier to stave off any potential advances, but despite early troubles there, and Sunek actually having a bit of an advantage through the early goings, just not able to see it through till the end. Rodrigo finding their footing and able to take this one in relatively convincing fashion to make it 1-2. Yeah, not winning the ratio battle, but able to keep that miscount so much cleaner. 30 almost. 30 less misses is what I meant to say there for Rodrigo, and making a world of difference in the overall score. So we've seen 10, we've seen 6, we've seen 9. All that's left are 7 and 8 in terms of rice picks. None of the LNs have been touched. And it's going to be 7 key rice for Sunek. So quickly running out of rice picks here are both players. Some questions going to be asked before too long. A markedly shorter map in the grand scheme of things. Just shy of 2 minutes compared to that 3.5 minute marathon that we just went through. Imagine this is probably the most overlap we'll see for both players. But again, we go back to that warm-up from Sunek. Just straightforward core stream, rice, and they looked so comfortable on that, nearly 990K'ing it outside of a couple of misses. The accuracy was at least on par for a 990K score, but don't count out Rodrigo just yet. This could be an opportunity presenting itself if they can keep it clean. As both players cross that 400 combo cap, Gonna start getting full credit for their judgments here. Misses from here on out that go unresponded to. Could blow this lead wide open right now. Sunek gonna find the first drop, gonna have that lead that they had, about 4,000 points. Now inside of 1,000, Rodrigo holding on to the FC. A second drop from Sunek, going to give the lead on over to Rodrigo. 5,000 points and climbing, still holding on to the FC here. Doesn't have the accuracy advantage, so not gonna be able to take full advantage, or at least as much advantage as they could if they had that as well. But 2 misses in the back pocket is more than enough to work with for them as things stand. Half the map already gone here, only about 2/10 behind. Sunek now back up with that 400 combo cap, gonna need to clean it up and start really pushing that MA to try and make some inroads in this lead. Already doing so, clawing back about 2,000 points here as we make our way into the last quarter of the map. Another drop from Sunek though, going to give the lead, restore it back the way of Rodrigo. A second one as well, and the lead has exploded to 18,000 points with a quarter of the map left to go. Now behind in terms of overall accuracy. Rodrigo in the driver's seat, potentially on course for the first breakpoint in this match. And 8th of the map still left to go, holding on to the FC. Everybody watching with bated breath as the last couple of sequences begin to rain down. And it was the gamble. The 7 key was the biggest overlap, and Rodrigo able to pick up the first breakpoint in this match. Able to hold on to the FC there. 13,000 points, the closest margin of victory, and it is 1-3. Rodrigo going to get that first breakpoint here. Oh, what a time to get it. That could potentially be the make or break pick here in this match. And now with only 1 rice map left in the pool, do you start going for the riskier LN picks? I say risky in quotation marks, of course. And sure enough, first LN pick gonna come through. It's gonna be 8 key LN. Sunek lamenting a couple of double taps on some of those denser sequences, the reason they found those drops. Inopportune time for that to happen. Cost them dearly there, but not out of it just yet. There are opportunities that can present themselves. But they're going to need to get that breakpoint back at the earliest opportunity, lest it be too late here. Rodrigo on an opportunity to make it a match point situation. Our referee just ensuring everything is proper. We want to make sure the scratch lanes are on the proper display for everybody following along. Don't want it to look funky as we get into it, so getting that confirmation. We'll get into this 5th map of this best of 9. So our first LN map of the match, I'm gonna be 2-side if and Rodrigo actually picking up the first break here as the first couple of scratch notes begin to come down. No, neither player getting tripped up by them. This coordinated LN stream section gonna give Sunek a bit of an issue, but traded back the miss by Rodrigo. Both players trying to climb back up on that 400 combo cap. And accuracy is relatively the same as he begins to take into consideration that outside scratch lane. Both players taking some pretty heavy trades, but Sunek ahead by about 4,000 points, all things considered. Next quarter of the map coming through. Rodrig0v finding yet another drop as they get some free time to build some combo here. Sunek gonna be the first one crossing that threshold. Rodrig0v taking for a bit of a ride down into that low 98% range, 2/10 behind in terms of the overall accuracy, but Sunek now having a couple of extra misses in the back pocket and some free time to stretch this advantage. 11,000 points now. Can evaporate if you aren't too careful, but they've looked the more comfortable of the two ever so slightly. But another trade here coming through, and the lead holds firm. I say that it's starting to shrink now. Sunek behind, and the accuracy gives Rodrig0v a chance to begin to build up, but finding a slider break on the transition out of that staggered staircase run. Gonna reestablish the foothold that Sunek had on this map. But as I say that, finding another break on the transition, 12,000 points. It has stayed around that 10,000 point mark for large stretches of this map so far. It's still the third of the map left to go. The fact that Rodrig0v is above or ahead in terms of the accuracy means that all these misses from Sunek are going to start doing some pretty significant damage. Another couple of drops, and the lead swings back on over to the side of Rodrig0v. 500 points going into the last quarter. Another couple of drops from Sunek as they try to regain some semblance of control on their fingers here. But Rodrig0v finding some slider breaks on this inverse section. 1,000 points. Going into this next section, begin to build up once again. No combo to speak of for both players. Another trade by both of them. Now it's the quality of the drops. 100 to just a pure slider break. 400 points. It is too close to call going into this outro. Beginning to stretch ever so slightly. Some daylight for Rodrig0v to work with. They need to hang on, but they can't. Another slider break coming through here. Going into the last eighth of the map. It is teetering back and forth, a tug of war in the leaderboard. Sunek finding yet another rush of misses, going to re-establish the lead for Rodrig0v at the 11th hour. Gotta watch a tiny bit of inverse, couple of notes. Not gonna do too much of a difference here. And Rodrig0v, heart and mouth moments there towards the end, but able to see it through. It is 1-4 match point situation for the blue side. 6,000 points now, the margin of victory. Oh boy, bit of a ride there. A bit of a shaky ride there, but able to see it through. 4-key LN going to be the pick for Sunek to try and keep their winners bracket run alive. Alright, so going back into one of the longer maps in this pool, 3.5 minutes. A bit more of a gauntlet to read through, a very dense 4-key LN chart. And with how close that 8-key LN pick was, I don't know how this is going to go, if I'm being perfectly honest. Sunek needing to pick this point up to continue the match. Rodrig0v on the cusp of closing this one out. Gonna need to do it on a break point to do it at first time of asking. We'll just have to wait and see here. Very strong starts by both players. It is inside of 0.1% in terms of overall accuracy. 300 points. Just playing tug of war with this leaderboard right now. You can put a postage stamp on the scoreboard and cover both of them up perfectly well. Dead even going through the introduction here. Barely anything separating either of them. As just through the introduction alone, we cross 1,500 combo here. Both FCs still on the table. Neither player getting perturbed by a little mini jacks being interspersed here as things begin to move into the second quarter of the map. Still inside of 1,000 points. For every 100th one player gives over, it is answered back in kind, just ever so slightly, picking up a 200 here. A rush of 300s there. The UR bar is about as spread apart as they could be while still maintaining an FC here. Both players just mirroring each other, literally going through this first third. Inside 700 points here going through the first third of the map. Sunek holding on to about 0.05% every single 100th, equating to about 100 points as things stand. Now starting to build up a tiny bit of daylight, about 2,000 points as things stand. Both players still holding on to their FCs going into the back half of the map here. Oh, as I say that, Rodrig0v finds the first break. Kept it relatively clean, but a second one now starting to amplify the pressure here. You imagine staying as tense as you need to read through some of these complicated structures. That first break comes through, you start to relax just ever so slightly, and that's when the second one comes through now. They need to build back up to that 99% mark, but now Sunek resting at about 9,000 points. As things stand, a third of the map still left to go. Plenty of opportunity for Rodrig0v, but Sunek still holding on to this FC, going to make it a bit of a mountain to climb here. Not insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination, but a third drop actually from Rodrig0v, going to put a bit of a damper on the proceedings here. The ball rolls back down the hill and they need to reclimb back up that 400 combo cap. The only good thing about this map is the fact that it is so dense. Recovery back up over that cap is relatively easy as we take stock of the situation. A quarter of the map left to go here. 16,000 points to lead for Sunek, still holding on to the FC. 4 misses in the back pocket. And now some daylight in the accuracy department as well. 0.3%. But Sunek finally finds their first drop of the map. Not going to hold on to the FC, unfortunate. But has put a bit of a cushion. As I say that, a second one going to come through here. Going to shrink that lead. 13,000 points now. And 8th map still left to go here. Anything can still happen. A third one now. 11,000 points. Rodrig0v now firmly above that 400 combo cap and able to build up a tiny bit of the accuracy. Still 10,000 points. Still some pretty hard structures to read through, but not as dense as some of the earlier parts of the map. As the outro begins to rain through, Rodrig0v finding a miss for the road, and Sunek keeps themselves alive. 2-4 now. Oh boy. Another bit of a gauntlet there for both players. But Rodrig0v up to pick now. First time of asking to close this out on their own terms. Sunek needing to get this break point. What is the map going to be? All that's left is 8 key rice and a whole slew of LN picks on the other side. And it is going to be 8 key rice. And regardless of what happens, this is going to be Rodrig0v's last pick in this match. This is a relatively difficult chart to read through. If you remove that scratch call, it becomes 7 key core stream, but that extra lane just adding that extra layer to the equation. Here we go. Last pick for Rodrig0v in this match. Either they close this out or Sunek has one more bite of the cherry here. Not the strongest starts by both players, taking for a bit of a ride here through this opening single note stream. And Sunek actually going to just straight up stop playing. I want to say that's inside 30 seconds, so might get the abort here. Call it a bit of a mulligan. Yeah, inside 30 seconds. I think that's the usual rule. Well, you can probably consult that afterwards. I've been known to forget the rules every now and again in this tournament, so again, we'll call that a bit of a mulligan. We'll go again. Hopefully, no hardware issues. I know Sunek's been going on about some double taps there, so maybe just not having the best of times there. That, or I mean, potential lag spikes. I mean, both players seem to have a bit of a struggle through that intro, so maybe something else at play here, but hopefully everything gets sorted out and we can get this pivotal pick underway here without any unnecessary drama. And of course, our referee just reminding Sunek no more boards. You only get the one mulligan. Players look to be ready. So we're going to need to play through this. Any issues by the wayside. And this is a much stronger start by both players. Rodrigo and Sunek finding those first trades through this opening stream section. It is still very early doors here, so not going to do the most damage. Going to give Rodrigo a bit of a cushion to work with, though. And these chord impacts going to help matters here. 6,000 points going to be the cushion that Rodrigo is going to need to work with here as we get things started. And Sunek just finding these breaks, transitioning back into some of these sections. Rodrigo finding a drop as well, trades back and forth as we continue into the second quarter of the map now. 9,000 points, 10,000 for Rodrigo as we continue on here. As again, that scratch column just causing a tiny bit of an issue. Both players not immune to it, but Rodrigo managing to weather the storm ever so slightly better. 21,000 points now, the advantage for them going into the first major break section of this map. Still about a minute 15 left to go here for the players. 20,000 points, we've seen that evaporate in matches past. The largest margin overcome in this match, about 13,000 points. And Rodrigo picking up a couple of rushes, gonna shrink the lead down to about 14,000 points. Traded back by Sunek, so not gonna be able to take full advantage here. There are a couple of impacts causing a bit of an issue, transitioning back on into the core stream sections. A double staircase run is coming through as well. Reintroduction of the scratch column, gonna take Sunek for a bit of a ride. The lead now reestablished, 20,000 points for Rodrigo as they pick up a miss. In turn, not responded to this time around. As I say that, now responded to as they trade once again, nearly on the same note here. Going back into the column section, a quarter of the map still left to go. 16,000 points. It is precarious here. Rodrigo pick up a rush of bad judgment before finding the break. Gonna shrink that lead down to about 10,000 points. This is the opportunity Sunek needed, but not able to capitalize, finding another drop. Traded back once again by Rodrigo, but they are trading back and forth. Just not able to establish a foothold. If they can just get some brief moments above that 400 combo cap, 7,500 points. Rodrigo finding a couple of misses that weren't traded back, and both handle the chord impacts at the end. That was maybe the last opportunity, and Rodrigo going to be able to close this one out. First time of asking on their pick by a score of 5-2 to knock Sunek down into that loser's bracket and close out the quarterfinals weekend. Oh boy, what a match. What a way to end the quarterfinals. Some very exciting matches, and that one really did deliver. There was some definite heart-and-mouth moments there, but congratulations to Rodrigo for continuing their run in the winner's bracket. Have to see how they do next weekend in the semifinals, as well as Sunek. I feel for anybody that have to go up against them, because they are quite a bit of a tough customer. So with that being said, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the semifinal showcase will be happening at its usual scheduled time, 19 UTC. So outside of that, no other matches left to be played. So we're going to go ahead and close things out here, get set up for that, and we'll be back in about an hour, 15 minutes. Get yourself some water, stretch, get comfortable. But until then, we'll catch you guys later.